ego mind pulls us out of that remembrance, namely who we are, where we're from, and why we're here. And if you shift your consciousness and your view away from wanting to be right, like Cindy said, where it's not about who's right or who's wrong, but where it's about, wait a minute, why did I come here in the first place? Why did I have children? Why am I planting trees? Why am I, having love around me? Why am I trying to connect with other people? What is this life even about? If I die anyway, well, what's the point in trying? Really? Welcome, everybody, to our daily Sacred Self. My name is Jona Bryndis, and as always, I'm guiding you through the nonsensical things that are happening in our world right now from the energetic perspective. I'm an energy coach and energy therapist, help people to go through transitions in their lives and find purpose and fulfillment. Yes, we come together here on Skype Live to meditate together, but also to talk about some of the things that are going on here in this world. And it is on my heart today to talk about the seriousness of our times. I've had a discussion this morning about what would it take to wake people up. What does it take to empower people, to give them courage, to give them hope, and to make them better understand what their own role in this play, in this scenario that we are experiencing right now, what that is, and how to utilize this without becoming anxious, without becoming depressed, without feeling powerless. So there is a part in us, and I know most of you audience that comes here regularly is aware of this. There is a part of us, we call this the ego mind. It doesn't really want to face things that are scary or painful. All right, this is partially linked to our physiology and partially linked to simply the way we are set up. Yeah, we want to avoid pain and we seek pleasure. Those are the two main ego directives. And this is something that I would like to discuss with you today. What happens if we avoid looking at what is? Is it negative to talk about the things that we see? Does it scare people unnecessarily? Does this mean that we are only seeing the negative? Or is it possible to talk about the things that we are seeing in this world without making people either, attack us or go against us, resist, or wanting to check out? What are your guys' thoughts about that? What are your experiences? Things that have to do with you seeing what is going on, and you're seeing a lot of people not being able to make sense of this. You're seeing a lot of people becoming desperate. You're seeing a lot of people becoming fanatic. You're seeing a lot of people wearing tinfoil heads, and you're seeing a lot of people becoming hopeless. And maybe you're also seeing some people who are becoming very optimistic, who see an opportunity in this, who recognize what it is that we are experiencing here, who can make sense of things, who can add to this deeper understanding of Why me? Why now? Why here? Why have I incarnated into this time? Where am I from? What is my purpose? Where does this need to go? What are your guys' experiences? Have you ever had those kind of conversations with people in your life? Who wants to share?
How are you?
Hey, thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. So I've had that conversation with several folks over the last couple of years, and most recently, my son, who is 36 years old. We had that conversation Saturday. Um, his wife she's pretty fearful about all the Corona stuff and doesn't know how to interpret it. So the three of us were talking and um, talking. And I just said, well, we've all decided to incarnate at this time for a reason, and not really having any direction of where that conversation was going to go, maybe to just hear their thoughts. And my son said, well, the Jews also incarnated at a time during the Holocaust. And, did their souls decide to be there then? And I just said yes. And then the night was long, so we ended it at that. But the next day, I called my son and I say, I just want to expand on our conversation if you want to. Yes. So I said, do you ever wonder, why the Jews and the Germans decided to incarnate at that same time? Like that's, like we can't know that because we are not either of those people. But there were also the people that um, just crossed the border and left that picture. Like, in other words, I just thought to myself, we don't have to be either the perpetrator or the victim. We can be the creator. So I just introduced that to my son because I feel like they were both getting a little hopeless and wrapped up in it all. And I can understand because controversial things happening at school, they have 4 children, they don't know how to interpret it all. So just to maybe, help them to understand that it's not black and white. Yeah. So, but it's not, the conversation doesn't always go in that direction. Everybody has their own thoughts and feelings.
To be fair and take politics and religion and all this out of this discussion, right? Your son has a valid point. And this doesn't even require these extreme examples from the last century. You can look back into centuries and centuries and centuries, and you see that genocides or tragedies are filling our history books, okay? And yes, this makes us feel like we are just one of those chapters, right? Like the people that have incarnated right now, we are just like heading into the same kind of doom or whatever. And it was our job to just like be some kind of flashback that fulfill some kind of supporting actor role, or something that's just happening in the background. You said something, and this may be helping. We are not either of these people. We are not the Germans, we are not, or the Nazis, and we are not the Jews. But is that actually true? This leads to the question where we're from.
Correct.
You also said something about transcending or overcoming the victim perpetrator component of this, right? This is the right direction, because at the end of the day, we're all humans, right? And to contextualize this in a way that things make sense, yeah, and we can look at certain developments historically, just like how every person goes through several developmental stages in life. Humanity goes through developmental stages as well. Yeah, if we look back, 4,000 years ago, it was totally okay to be a slave. Yeah, this was okay for the majority of people. And if we only look back 1,000, 1,500 years back, it was totally okay for people to live in that feudalistic kind of system where we worked for some kind of overlord or something like that. And 150 years ago, it was totally okay for us to send our 9-year-old kids to a factory and to work for some kind of factory owner. Do you see where I'm getting at, Cheryl? There is, certain times that, sort of bring a certain awareness or allow people to have a certain consciousness, and then something happens where all this, kind of collapses and something new needs to be created because it turns out it's not working. This is the part that we don't really want to think about because it's the renewal part, and it also because it reminds us of our own mortality, right? Ultimately, it's the cycle of life. But if we look beyond just our personal life, what you said is, or what your son mentioned is actually a good analogy. But we are 100 years later now, and this is a good way of actually recapping and reviewing of what have we learned here. What were the reasons that, something like a fascist system like the Nazi Germans could rise to a degree where they were able to gaslight not just one nation, but entire nations into what? Greed, world domination, and so forth. What have we learned since then? How has that impacted us in our development as humans? The analogy is valid, but this is 100 years later. And all politics aside, how the history books are written by the winners and all these kind of things, all that aside, we can all feel this inside ourselves. What is still the same and what is different? What have we learned? And what is it that needs to be done to prevent those kind of things from happening again? That's where we're at. That's the question we need to ask, especially our younger generations. We don't need to have fixes. We don't need to, tell them the truth, whatever people perceive as truth. We got a bifurcation going on, a massive mind control and media wars. There is nothing there that you could prove to be, more true or more real than the other person's reality. Because we are dealing with the duality of our own mind right now. And we are seeing the temptations that come with this and the outcroppings. Yeah, this ego mind paradigm, avoiding pain, which includes fear, and seeking pleasure, which includes externalization of the problem, checking out, not wanting to deal with this, saying things like, "Oh, you're being so negative," or "Oh, how can you say this? You make me lose all hope." Hope in what? What was the problem? And I don't want to go into the the genocide aspect here, the religious and political part of that. But what was the problem 100 years ago when the Nazis rose in Germany and started to dominate all Europe and killed millions of people based on their race or their sexual orientation or their religious beliefs? What was the problem? What have we learned since then? Faith? Faith in what? Like, oh, the aliens are going to come and rescue us? Or, oh, we're all going to magically move into a higher awareness by holding hands and singing Kumbaya together? Really? That's called blind faith. That's called blind hope. And blind faith and blind hope has not helped 100 years ago. What is it that can make or give sense to all of this, that can give meaning to things that we learn from the past? What is that? Cindy is sharing here. People seem to want to be right. If someone gives them comfort, ego does not like uncertainty. So latching onto something seems to be the most comforting, regardless of whether or not it's true. Yes, this is exactly how the mechanics of the ego mind work. I made a truth talk about this last year. I said, in the moment of confrontation, the ego mind does one out of two things. It either goes into, getting lost in its own fear, okay, and needing to dominate, needing to control, needing to go into this OCD sort of fighting against what it is that seemingly makes them become out of control. That would be political adversaries. That would be anybody who has a different opinion or a different belief. Anybody who says something that scares the person more. The other variation of that is where we get lost on the outside and where we go into like, oh, this is all, we all gonna get rescued by something. Somebody is gonna come and fix it all. Yeah, where we lose ourselves on the outside. And if you've paid attention, you can see that these two things represent the two darknesses that work within ourselves, pulling ourselves out of our own self-authority, our own self-awareness, our own autonomous and sovereign soul self-being, namely who we are, where we're from, and why we're here. So ego mind pulls us out of that remembrance. And if you shift your consciousness and your view away from wanting to be right, like Cindy said, yeah, where it's not about who's right or who's wrong, but where it's about, wait a minute, why did I come here in the first place? Why did I have children? Why am I planting trees? Why am I, having love around me? Why am I trying to connect with other people? What is this life even about? If I die anyway, well, what's the point in trying? Really? Brian is sharing, it feels to me, regardless where anyone stands on whatever issue, they want reassurance. You're right. We want reassurance. And that reassurance is in us. We are the reassurance. We are the one who's going to save humanity. We are the ones who can reassure first and foremost ourselves, namely by becoming aware and remembering who we truly are. We are a soul self with a body that comes here on a mission, and it's not mystical. We come here and we can all feel this. Out of all people, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's an impulse, it's a feeling. It's a spiritual, even if it's a poo-poo word, it's a spiritual impulse that we're feeling that, wait a minute, this can't be. If I just see myself as a material, and if I only go for the accumulation, for the getting and owning and having and needing of materialistic type of goals, which automatically leads me to this anxiety of losing and not being good enough and not being worth anything and, being desperate and being powerless? Or is it about us recognizing that there is something here? And on an individual level, we can feel this through the whole thought process of karma, where not karma as a destiny, but karma as something in you that is reminding you of some kind of marching order, you know, like that was in you before you were even born. It reaches back beyond your childhood, beyond your inner child and your karmic family stuff and all that. It even transcends gender and all these things, nationality, religion, it transcends all of that. We want reassurance of what, Brian? What do we want reassurance? That we're not going to die? Well, there is no way to reassure a human that they're not going to die, no matter how hard our egos try to recreate immortality through augmented reality, cosmetic surgery, or genotherapy. There is no reassurance. We're going to have to face that. That is a given. And it is part of our mission to overcome that. But how does one overcome that? How does one overcome that this physical body will end, that it has an expiration date? Nigel's sharing, some people appear to forget to smell the roses, to be aware of what is around them and listen, and unfortunately believe that they hear what they hear or what they're fed with in the media. Yeah, you are onto something there, Nigel. They forget something. Now, let's not rant about how bad it all is. Let's get to the core of the matter here, guys. What are people forgetting? What are we forgetting if we forget to smell the roses? What are we not seeing? Why are we going nuts? Why are we anxious and depressed? 67% of the Western world is currently projected to suffer from some kind of mental health problem, either in the direction of anxiety or depression. Why are we going nuts? What about that makes us so crazy? We're feeling something and we know we forgot something, but we can't pinpoint it, right? You ever felt that? It's crazy making when you feel that. Dang, what was that again? I know it's there, but what was that again? Remember how it comes back to you? Yes, Becky, we forget the spiritual being that we are. But, you know, it's part of the propaganda here and all this ego materialism that we are exposed to that keeps on focusing on, you know, the material, the mortality of what we have. Because everything that we have, all consumerism, everything, even social warriordom is all about resisting mortality, if you think about it. All of what we are experiencing here on the outside, and especially the corona scare and all that comes with it, is reminding us of what? What is it reminding us of? Say it out loud, guys. If you want to have a chance to withstand darkness, you're going to have to learn to call it by its name. What are we forgetting? Yes, that there is no reassurance, that we are mortal. Yeah, we have to face that. That's our job. And not just as a sort of a nice theoretical exercise. No, by remembering what this is truly about. Yes, we can say these things. We are eternal, infinite, and divine. Okay, raise your hand. How many of you actually feel that? When you're thinking about vaccines or schools or face masks or whatever, or losing your job or losing a loved one. That's idealism. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm a spiritual teacher, guys. You got to go deeper. The work that we need to do here to understand the deeper meaning of that is to, I mean, we can use these words and they're beautiful words, but they have no power when a person doesn't believe that there is anything beyond the mortal, anything beyond the 3D ego reality. It has no power. What we need is that remembrance on a deeper level, and that, my dears, everybody cares in him. We are all carrying that light in us. Even if somebody is temporarily confused by mind control or consumerism, or simply wanting to consume the flowers instead of just smelling them, the roses. Our mission is to transcend something here. And why is that? The interesting part, about energy workers, that you can observe these things with etheric vision. And that's the reason why I propagate that we grow up, that we grow into our energetic senses and train them, because you can find a lot of sense there. You can find a lot of answers there, and you will find remembrance there. All right, you will recognize the seriousness of what we are going through right now, and you will know what this is for. You'll be optimistic, not because of blind faith, because you recognize that that is a wake-up call, and that that is going to bring the change that we have been waiting for. What was the pain that we have been experiencing before? It was that we felt separated, we felt excluded. We felt excluded from the 3D reality because something in us told us it's not true. And we suffered that we didn't get enough emotional validation from our parents or from our spouses or from our children. What do you think that expresses? That's your ego reality. You're not here to get validated by your children or your parents. You're not here, okay, to have the nicest yard in your neighborhood, or to influence what your neighbors think about you. You really think that's why you're here? If people do, then yes, the world looks very gloomy. When you do not remember who you are, the world looks gloomy right now, because there is nothing there beyond, fighting what is. And fighting what is not overcoming. Fighting means pretending it doesn't exist. It means resisting. So what can we do? Let's get a step farther here. What can we do? I know I'm preaching to the choir, and forgive me the preachery tone here today. I want you to see the seriousness of all of this. What can we do? Those of us who do remember, or at least remember glimpses of it, or at least remember sometimes. Yeah, what can we do? How can we bring reassurance? How can we bring educated hope, educated faith, and empowerment and courage into this world? By bickering about how bad this administration is, or how bad the other administration was, or how mean the industries are, or how dark the consumerism is? I don't know. We are a part of this, right? I mean, we are the ones that made that possible. So let's wake up together and go into what this truly means. What can we do? Is it our job to convince other people of a different truth, to make them become believers of something? No, then we are back to where the ego mind wants to mislead us into darkness. We want to be right. We don't want to be right. What does being right or righteous get you? Your son is correct there, Cheryl. It didn't prevent the Holocaust, being righteous. This is the thought that I want you to, or this contemplation, that I want you to take with you into this meditation that I want to do with you today. This is called an energy prayer. So I used to call these daily sacred self meditations energy prayers, and I'm contemplating to call them that again. I don't know how many, 50 or 60 or 70, probably plus the energy alignments, 100 different invocations, energy alignments, and mini meditations on my SoundCloud cloud account. But I picked one that was conceived at a time when things were starting to kick in for people, when it became clear that we are dealing with a wake-up call beyond just our personal perils, beyond just like the real estate market collapsing or the financial systems renewing. So I would like to invite you to join me with this 10-minute in meditation now, and then in that time where you have this opportunity to process some of these things from your inner perspective and allow this to go through you and allow it to invoke that remembrance in you. And after that, I would like to talk again about the same subject and see what this did to you or how this changed your perspective. So you can lean back now. It's a 10-minute energy prayer. The link is already in the chat, so you can actually download it from SoundCloud if you wish. It's for free. And right now, I want to go through this with you together. How does one reconcile what we just talked about before we went into this deeper state and the words, everything is perfect the way it is. Nothing needs to be controlled. Nothing needs to be worried about. How does one reconcile that? How do you reconcile that? How do you reconcile me on one hand saying, oh, all this spiritual talk is just empty words. And then at the same time, reminding you all to immerse yourself deeper into it. How do you reconcile that?
Hey, Jona. So for me,
Hey,
I think, I feel that it's more, the talk doesn't do anything. It's the inner experience with it that can create something in life. I feel so relaxed right now. It's difficult for me to find words, but it's the inner experience that allows the outer experience to become different, and to know that to know that I am here in 3D body to experience life.
Cheryl, you're a bit hard to understand. It's a pity because what you are saying is very true and very beautiful. Yeah, the connection is a little bad. But what I heard you say, and please add to this if you have a better connection. You say all these words mean nothing if you don't have an inner experience with it. In that deeper connected state with ourselves, where we rediscover our authenticity, our true being, our true self, as I often call this. In that state, these words mean something different. And they don't mean anything that goes into the direction of righteousness or, my reality is more true than yours. No. They remind us of something completely different, namely something that we can all feel from within. And I do not need to tell you what that is. All I am doing is to remind you that that's where you can find reassurance, not through me, not through I don't know, more money, better job, better relationship, different car, more vaccines. No. I'm not saying, you should be just like ignore everything and going into your bunker and hunker down. No. But it's irrelevant what I say if you don't feel anything. So the message here is that we need to facilitate that within ourselves through actually going into this deeper connection more regularly. Because right there, these words make sense. Right there, the world makes sense. We can see that we are in a time of a global collective wake up call. And what are we supposed to be woken up to? What is this awakening that everybody talks about? Say it out loud. What are we awakening to? What are we remembering again that we had forgotten? What does give meaning to all of this that we are experiencing in this day and age? Our power, yes. But what does that lead to when we discover our power? This comes through the connection with our true self, facilitated through, authenticity and all the disciplines that it takes, the work. Okay, doing the work allows us to reconnect with power within, and reconnecting with power within connects us with our true self, and our true self connects us with our soul self. But what does that do to us? There is more. What does it bring back to us? The remembrance of what? That we have a reason, we have a mission, we have a purpose. We didn't just randomly get plopped here to what? Live a life, go to college, learn a good job so that you can buy a house, build a nice fence, have a golden retriever, make some kids, pay for college, pay for health insurance so that you can have a good pension, and then you die. You really think that this is why we're here? It brings back the remembrance of who we are and why we're here. And I can't tell you what that is for yourself. It has to do with you recognizing what is, you disciplining your mind away from this dualistic paradigm that we talked about earlier, and you developing the skills and the disciplines to weed all that out and to recognize, okay, I have a body and I need to love that body and I need to connect with that body. That body is a miraculous genius, sort of pinnacle of physical evolution of form, okay? And I need to honor it in that way. It is the suit, the uniform, or the vehicle that I get to do what I came here for. But you find the answers in your personal communication and connection with your true self. Yeah, and it is on the bigger level the same for all of us, but on the, say, more practical or individual level, can be different things. Some people came here to help with ecology. Some people came here to help renew finances. Some people came here to help renew sciences. Some people came here to renew, people's body love and to connect them more with their bodies. Some of us came here to educate people like I do, just in general. Yeah, we all have different ways how we can translate that. But it is the very thing that gives purpose to everything, and that allows us to see hope and to see how amazing this time is, how we can tap into this opportunity of mass awakening that is happening right now. And yes, it comes with a lot of problems. It comes with the ego resistance, not wanting to see what is true. It comes with tragedies that have, developed over us, binding ourselves too much to the materialistic thinking. All that needs to be overcome, and I'm not saying that it is fun for everybody, but there is a lot of hope in seeing what all this is for, and that it leads to the collective evolution of consciousness and us remembering what this is about. Yes, very good, Brian, to live by example, to be a good role model, instead of trying to convince others with words. Yeah, this is the whole subject of embodiment. Yeah, or to start something new, to show other ways, to explore new ways, to show people that, of course, you have fears of the future, of the unknown too. I do too. But if I stop right there where I'm like, oh my God, I could die. I mean, I probably wouldn't be here because, I had these kind of thoughts when I was 13, that there's no point in trying. I've explored that darkness in me. And overcoming that darkness means that you become immune to it. This is how you inoculate yourself. And everything that I do, actually, I recommend right now to go back to some of the truth talks that I did a year or two ago. There are things in there that you might better understand now. It makes more sense now, what I said back then. Yeah. And it helps to put two and two together and not go crazy. So, guys, our job is to stay focused in the middle, stay focused in the connection with ourselves, knowing how to balance ourselves out whenever these darknesses come in. These darknesses are part of us. They come in whenever they're triggered from the outside. They're constantly triggered from the outside right now, and exacerbated through people going into this massive anxiety. Okay, so you're gonna have to know what you're up against here, within yourself and on the outside. Learn how to manage your energies, how to master your energies. That's the only way how you're gonna be able to withstand all this etheric onslaught. Okay, and then make sense of why you're here, what your mission is, and start putting it into 3D. Come out of the woodwork, embody it. You know that I'm working on a big school project here. This is not just a school here where I live. This is a school enterprise that connects community, families, and teachers and businesses into a whole new way, of a whole new school model, all right, where everybody starts working together, recognizing how central our schools are to the well-being of humanity in the future. We have to teach these things amongst other things, such as the arts and languages and academics, of course, but we have to teach the fundamentals of energetic mastery to our children so that they get better than us at it, so that they can become the karmically upgraded versions of ourselves. For me, there is no purpose more important or greater than that. That is my mission in life, and that is what I am embodying on all these different levels. You don't have to be the inventor of things. You can also support others who do that. That is how this goes. That is how synergy produces a greater outcome than just the sum of its parts. Okay, so remember that. Please feel free to share these energy alignments, everything that you find on my SoundCloud account, everything that you find on transCODES YouTube channel. Feel free to share this with others, not to convince them, but to trigger something in them that we call remembrance. I love you guys. There are some big announcements that I'm going to make on Friday. All new, all constantly adjusting and correcting here for myself. And exciting new things. I am very motivated, very optimistic. Bye-bye. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing.